I guess I just wanted to share this process sometime in the middle of the month when people start to quit, people like me, what I wanted to change and how I can use this project to feel a little bit more productive. So it's that time of year again where I decide I'm going to do Inktober maybe and then give up or forget about it halfway through. I normally like to use Peachtober. I would put the challenge in a specific time of day that I feel is not very productive. Usually after maybe 8 p.m. And that's usually like when my brain kind of turns off and says, okay, it's the end of the day. There's no point in starting anything now. And I would really literally just forget. So I'm thinking maybe this year I can try a new thing where the Peachtober is something that I do first. I'm going to liken this a little bit to morning pages. I never actually fully got through the artist way. So I'm hoping that this will be kind of like a mix of doing a kind of morning pages practice, forcing myself into productivity earlier in the day. I don't have any reason to believe that this will be more successful than previous years. But I just wanted to try to bend it into something that actually is personal to me, actually has a purpose instead of just busy work every day. My old sketchbook is full, so this is the one that I'm going to be working on. It looks like a fake leather sketchbook that I got from the dollar store because it's very soft and I could not resist. Broke it in already in a previous video and I was testing watercolor in it. It's very thin paper, but the color is there. Connecting page in the front that I didn't know what to do with, so I just wrote the list in there. I've already started. So the first word of Peachtober was daisy, and it made me think of that thing we used to do as kids where you take a flower and you pluck the flower petals off of it. You say that little rhyme like he loves me or loves me not, or you could just use it to make little magic 8-ball decisions. And I do remember a moment where I realized that, okay, all flowers seem to have the same number of petals, or at least they will have an odd or even number of petals. You can kind of manipulate the answers based on which one you start with. And I thought that had completely sucked the magic out of it. So I guess as a kid, that was my first experience of bias. But the word daisy also means day's eye, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to make some of the daisies a little bit stylized into the shape of an eye, just to keep it kind of weird and fresh and interesting for me. Because while it is easy for me to just approach this list literally and just draw what it tells me to draw, sketching things literally all the time is I don't know, a kind of study, or it just makes it seem boring or a task that I just need to do and have no joy of it. Add a little tiny piece of flair to the page. That keeps it kind of fun for me. Same with sparkle. I just did this shiny fish with my shiny metallic paints, and they don't really fit together in this layout, but I'm forcing it. I didn't record everything, but I kind of liked how paw was paired up with sky in my sketchbook. For sky, I just wanted to practice painting clouds. And for skies, I really enjoy using the golden open paints because of how long they can mix together and stuff. In the process of trying to make a cloud look like a cloud, it really just ends up looking like nonsense. But it looks that way when you look at a cloud in the sky anyway. So it's kind of like, what makes a cloud a cloud? How do we recognize a cloud? Is it just context? Having my cat sketch stretched out across the gutter in order to connect the pages together, it made me think of the activity I used to do when I was really young. I had no interest in other children. And I would spend recess kind of just like laying on my back with my feet just dangling in the air. And I would pretend that the world had turned upside down and everything on it that wasn't fixed was falling into the vast space. And this is what I was doing when another lonely child walked up to me. Pretty much asked me, do you want to be best friends? Having never really spoken before. And I remember thinking, okay, sure. And we've been friends since then. We always laugh about it all the time because it's not that easy to make friends as an adult. It's just such a different circumstance. As an adult, people like to stay home. Not like when you're a lonely kid and you're forced to be places and do things you want to do and live with people that you don't like. And this layout is kind of ugly. It doesn't really work together. I tried. The theme was fawn, and I took it literally, but I also wanted to use somehow the concept of, I think it's like an insincere expression of affection. And so the exaggeration part, I kind of just added these antlers. Fawns don't really have antlers, and it's very decorated and extra. But I also have the skeleton kind of showing through, or maybe it's just like the way that this coping mechanism eats away at you. This was the sketch. I literally just sketched something on the couch. I like to use dance videos, although it's really hard to find anything these days. For the bud prompt, I'm doing some rose buds. I know it's very boring to take all these words literally. While I did kind of want to pre-plan a little bit to have a backup, I wasn't sure if I wanted everything to be so planned out that it would just become a dry task to complete on the day that I have to do it. Now, I originally wanted to do like orchids because I think orchid buds are just so interesting, but I ended up switching to roses. It made me think of a time when I had some dried roses and I was just smelling them casually, and this very pale white spider crawled out of it, and I'm terrified of spiders, so that really surprised me. And it was the first time I've seen a spider like that. It's not an interesting memory. And yet I distinctly kind of remember the feeling of the rose in my hand, or like the crinkling noise of the petals, the weird dusty smell of them after they dried. It's just weird how many details that you can kind of conjure up just from a word. And there's like a meditative property to this warm-up session that like I feel like I'm just kind of swimming in it. I'm just floating in whatever this word brings to me, which I think is a perfectly fine, valid alternative to trying to turn these into like a project or to make characters or to have a finished piece. I'm just enjoying the moment and the process of making it. So it's day 8 and I almost forgot, but I didn't. I ended up doing something different this morning. Random extra sketches I did over the weekend. And this is where I left off on day 7. I didn't actually leave very much space to do river. I guess I was expecting to do like maybe flowers floating down the river. And so I do kind of like a little bit this habit of sort of doing across the gutter layouts so that it's less like segmented day by day. And it kind of like flows into each other, which is kind of extra, but I have somewhere to kind of continue. And some of them don't really work that well. The point of this was to serve as sort of like a warm-up to start my day and get into the flow of things, rather than just tacking on an extra busy work task at the end of each day. And that's what would lead me to give up and quit. Like, is that improving my days? Yeah, kinda. decided to finally finish this hummingbird painting that I started at a plein air event. I didn't like where it was going, it was just very green. So I added some extra little flowers to his nest just to add a little bit more magic to the world, I guess. I kind of wanted to get kind of a bokeh effect, and so I thought, oh, I would try to add a little bit more paint around some of the leaves and just kind of blend them in and hope that it kind of looks like bokeh effect, where everything out of focus is blurred and just the bird is in focus, so it makes it look like I'm really is voyeuristic. I'm looking really through the leaves and getting depth, and I think it kind of works. It doesn't just look like I don't know how to paint a leaf, which is true anyway, but I think it works. I think it works. I think it works. The thing I don't like about these panels, kids art exhibit, is that it's really hard to, like, what do you do with this, right? You have to either frame it under glass, or me, I will probably like glue it to wood panel or something, maybe, so that it has the sides and you can hang it. Otherwise, yeah, these are really annoying to hang, so I try to avoid these, but it's what they provided at the event, so I used it. Oh, and ruined it. Where'd that come from? And of course, for River, I took a bit of an interest in the shape-shifting nature of rivers, and I thought, you know what, I already took up so much space on this page, I'm just going to do a mark making session and using the shape of a river. I used some book pages. These are pages from, looks like, I guess, a Russian copy of Puss in Boots. I know some people think it's really disgusting to break books to make things out of it, but it's a mass-produced item. I bought it for 30 cents at the library. It's gonna get thrown out. I'm just gonna use it for my sketchbooks. And that's all I have to say about that. In case that's all I have for now, it's not the full 31 days, I just wanted to share something before the month ends, just in case some people are feeling a little demotivated or maybe disappointed with the output, that it is okay to just use these prompts for a project that doesn't have to actually go anywhere. For me, it has been like the one space during the day where I get to work on something that doesn't have to go anywhere, that has become a part of the process, a little bit of a meditation. And that perhaps it's not too late to kind of change it around and finish it off with a slightly different goal for yourself, whatever that might mean for you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.